Okay, so the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. So, dear participants, organizing team and colleagues, I'm honored to welcome you to the final session of PACES 2021. It's been a great day full of inspiration, hope, and dreams, of course. And I'd like to introduce our last speaker, Atıf Bayram, who is a graduate of the Department of Construction Technology of Nahit Menteşe Industrial High School, Istanbul. After his graduation in 2016, he received the title of construction technician. In 2017, he enrolled in English Language and Literature department at Istanbul Aydın University, and 2 years later, he co-authored the article The Reflections of Mary Wollstonecraft's A Vindication of the Rights of Women on Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. And very recently, he presented his paper entitled An Existentialist Approach to Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis at Istanbul Aydın University First Undergrad Symposium. And his research areas are the 18th century literature, gender studies, and the English novel. So the floor is yours, Atıfcan.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Now you can see my screen, right?
Now we can.
Okay. Before starting the presentation, I want to give a small, brief summary of my presentation topic. When Başak Hoca told me that there will be a conference about the dreams and dreams in English literature and American literature, the first thing that came to my mind was the dream marriages in Jane Austen's novels. And I decided to shape these marital ideas of Jane Austen with the 18th century feminist philosophers, though the concept of feminism was not known in the 18th century. There were women philosophers and writers sought for the rights of women. And after that, I'll focus on Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, and I'll try to analyze the novel, and I'll try to analyze the female characters' dreams about marriages. Now I'll start with making a small introduction about the historical background of the 18th century England. I believe you already know 18th century was marked by the philosophical revolutions, focusing on the intellect and claiming that human is the measure of everything. And also the aims to liberate rational thoughts from the assumptions, prejudices, and ideologies that are old, traditional, and unchangeable. Besides, the age aims to thrive the new knowledge. In the terms of new knowledge, I want to draw links between these Francis Bacon's Novum Organum, written in the 17th century, because Novum Organum in English, the new organ. In the Novum Organum, Francis Bacon proposes people to use their minds as their new organs, and he paves the way of one's using their intellect. The philosophers, by entering the process of modernization, emphasized on the rationality. The intellectual culture was separated from the traditional Protestant morality, which believes that the church was in the highest position of the society. In the context of women's question, my major topic is that, there were women philosophers seeking for the rights of women, and they emphasized the education of women as the age encouraged people to cultivate their minds. After a while, these negotiations about the education of women were reflected upon marriage in order to stand up against the image of traditional woman who must be obedient and docile towards her husband. Now, Mary Astell, the first English feminist, although there was no feminist, again, I'm repeating, although there was no feminist movement in the 18th century, women writers and philosophers started to raise their voices against the patriarchal symbolic order of the English society. Mary Astell is the first known English feminist who suggests that, like men, women are rational beings, thus they must achieve a proper education. In terms of the marital issues, by improving their intellectual capacity, also Astell argues, women will rationally choose their future husbands. But this rationally choosing husband is important. In that sense, she strictly opposes to the marriages based on either financial interests or social class climbings. In the traditional sense, the constitution of marriage was considered to be a blessed state. But however, Astell also questions this blessed state because she says that if the constitution of marriage is seen like a blessed state, why people concern financial interests in the process of such a blessed state? And here she argues that the constitution of marriage was dreamed by majority of women and it should be negotiated. As you can see, the idea of feminism is still conservative. Yeah. Now we are in the 21st century and we are looking towards feminism like women can do everything. But in the 18th century, there was still a conservative idea of feminism, and women is still considered to be married. Although Mary Astell and Jane Austen remained unmarried, they how should I say, they mostly speak of the constitution of marriage. In her book called Some Reflections Upon Marriage, Astell gives credit to the marriage based on equality between the sexes, as well we will see in Pride and Prejudice. In Mary Wollstonecraft, she is my beloved feminist philosopher. She is the fervent supporter of women's rights. She, like Mary Astell, suggests a social order based on logic, while proposing that both men and women should be regarded as reasonable and rational beings. Wollstonecraft generally focuses on the conditioned dreams imposed on women. For example, if a woman is taught to be a future wife of a wealthy gentleman, what else can be expected from her? After a while, she's speaking of women still. After a while, the women will accept their irrationality and adore their embellished prison, referred to their house. In a way, she throws the gauntlet for renegotiating the marital understanding of the patriarchal order. In a way, she throws the gauntlet for renegotiating the marital understanding of patriarchal orders. According to Mary Wollstonecraft, women internalize the exalted constitution of marriage. Thus, they simply try to find a wealthy husband and to lead a comfortable life. However, this act of marriage, seeking the benefits, for Mary Wollstonecraft is nothing but a legal prostitution. Like Mary Astell, Wollstonecraft also draws the attention to the education of women because for Wollstonecraft, the proper woman is not an amiable and fashionable house slave, but a reasonable and liberated intellectual who speaks the truth from her heart. Mary Wollstonecraft displays to the reader that women's internalized inferiority is created by men and shows the ways to correct this defect by allowing the liberty of women and thus making. Finally, in Pride and Prejudice, I chose Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice because it allows the reader to compare the traditional sense of marriages and the rational, liberated new sense of marriages. Jane Austen herself, I think, is one of the most distinguished women writers of the 18th century English literature because she presents some of her heroines as reformed in order to show that how the use of one's rationality changed the imposed ideology. And in the novel, Lydia and Charlotte stand against Elizabeth and Mary. Although all of her women characters dream of a good marriage, their expectations for their husbands and their marriages are strictly opposing. For example, Lydia and Charlotte present a traditional type of women who dream of marrying a husband for whom they can give up their identities and their rights. Lydia desires to be called as Mrs. Wickham, for example, whereas Charlotte desires not to become a penniless spinster who remains as a burden upon the shoulders of her father. However, in this case, however, in the case of Elizabeth and Mary, the perspectives completely change. For example, Elizabeth uses her rationality as Mr. Darcy uses. And these two lovers throughout the novel present many repartees for the 18th century reader. These repartees, which are the witty dialogues between the sexes, point out the ideal relationship dominated by the individual's use of their intellectual capacities, as it is also proposed by Astell and Wollstonecraft. Also, another point is that Elizabeth, as I mentioned earlier, diminishes the taboos about the women's absolute obedience and inferiority by the side of men. And she says that I am a gentleman's daughter, and she is now referring to Mr. Darcy, he is a gentleman, so far we are equals. And also she creates an equality within their relationship. In Elizabeth's speech, Jane Austen renegotiates the idea of marriage in light of the egalitarian feminist philosophers mentioned earlier. At the end, Elizabeth, by marrying Mr. Darcy, fulfills her dreams to be a married woman, yet she does not fully give up her identity and freedom. She becomes a conservative wife who is holding her freedom as well. On the other hand, Mary, the youngest daughter of the Bennets, stands for a new woman who is single and intellectual. At the end of the novel, she does not get married, and throughout the novel, she speaks of the emancipation and the improvement of women. She sheds light on the marital concept and helps to renegotiate the dream of marriage to be constructed by the mutual equality. As the namesakes of Astell and Wollstonecraft, I believe, Mary stands for the embodiment of the two feminist philosophers. And drawing my statement, I believe that in the 18th century, Mary can be seen as the name of feminism or name of achieving a masculine power, because we can see in Mary Wollstonecraft, Mary Astell, and Mary Queen of Scots, and Bloody Mary, and as well as Mary Bennet. Having said this, I want to stop here, stop my presentation here. I hope you enjoyed, because I really enjoyed presenting. Finally, I would like to thank the PACES committee for offering us this opportunity, and I wish everyone a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this is my references, by the way.
Thank you, Atıfcan, a lot for this presentation. So it's a very interesting portrayal of renegotiating marriage dream, actually. And now the floor is open to the questions or comments. You may raise hand or just feel free to drop in.
I hope I don't blow out of your minds.
No, you don't. So our audience may be a little bit tired. Actually, I have a comment with a follow-up question, but it will drift you to the next century. So it is better to wait for some comments on the 18th century first, if there is any.
Atıf, I've been teaching 18th century novel for maybe more than 10 years now. And so marriage, as it would be in the 19th century, the angel in the house period, the 18th century novel presented female characters who dreamt of a dream marriage all the time. And in my opinion, the funniest novel, Pamela, which is unnecessarily long and full of unnecessary details. But what do you think about Pamela? Does she know the game she is playing, or does she truly have a dream? If you have read the novel.
I read the novel, and I believe that I just remembered her family constantly emphasizes her to preserve her chastity and become and demands her to become a how should I say, conservative woman, and thus can you repeat your question again? I forgot.
Does she know the play? So does she know the game she is playing, or does she really have a dream of a dream marriage?
Probably, as Mary Wollstonecraft suggests, Pamela internalizes the marriage, and thus she unconsciously tried to trap Mr. B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And you mentioned a term, house prostitution. So can you expand the idea a little bit?
Okay. Actually, Mary Wollstonecraft uses Daniel Defoe's words, and she drives her ideas that in the 18th century and onwards and backwards, many of the women, also men, sought for financial interests, and they marry their partner's money, not them, and that's why Mary Wollstonecraft argues that these type of marriages are must be called as legal prostitution, and they are nothing but a legal prostitution.
One more comment. There's one more comment I want to make. I think in our present time we are back to the 18th century because the liberal economy, the free market economy in globalization brought us back to the harsh conditions of capitalism in the 18th century, merciless. And in Daniel Defoe's Roxana and Moll Flanders, for example, those women had to do that because they were starving and there were no jobs for women. So marriage was the only way out, or having sexual relationships for the income was the only way out. And unfortunately, we are back to that century because the capitalist conditions in our day are very harsh and very merciless, and people see marriage as the only way out of their lives, only way to preserve their welfare. So I don't want to take so much time because I think there's another question.
Mehmet Ali Hocam, thank you so much for your contribution. I think Kübra now wants to ask a question. Go ahead, please, Kübra.
Kübra?
Her mic seems on, but I think there is a problem. All right, while Kübra managing her problem, we can listen to Müjdat Bulmuş. Go ahead, please.
When I notice someone else is having some technical problems, I usually grab their turn and ask my questions. Okay, so my question is Atıf. First of all, thank you for your presentation. My question is it only the women's dream, I mean the marriage, but is it also the dream of the man as well at these, I mean in these novels, because marriage also means a kind of profit for men as well, because by marrying to a woman with a good dowry, they also create some alliances and also profit from them. So in that sense, can we limit it to women, or can we also talk about men in that sense?
Both men and women were imposed on the idea of marriage that must be actually achieved. And also in the beginning of the Pride and Prejudice, I forgot the passage, I forgot the quotation, but as far as I remember, it says, after a good gentleman achieves everything in the life, he starts to kind of this kind of passage I remember, and after he achieves many things in his life, he must start seeking for a wife, and that's why the marriage works both for men and women, but in the perspective of financial statuses, majority of mostly women try to seek their future husbands according to their financial statuses. Because the women are the ones, hatta şöyle söyleyeyim, the women were the ones who were degraded and who remained uneducated and who were taught to be as irrational beings, and thus to be locked at their embellished prisons.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great point to highlight, actually. We have another question from Zülay Şevval Öztürk.
So first of all, I would like to thank Atıf for rich data on theories, gender theories, and his presentation. And since they were talking about it, I remember the first sentence. It goes like that. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of wife. I remember it because we studied it last term. So lucky me. And for that reason, I believe in the sociological context also, marriage is an important thing, both for material wealth and also it is by means of, I mean, when a woman marries, it is an economical salvation usually, but for the man also marrying a good, well-bred daughter or a girl or a woman is a means of reputation and good fortune, both in literal and metaphorical sense. So I just wanted to contribute that also. And I have a minor question as well, but it is a general question. So I couldn't attend the all sessions. Where actually can I find these recordings? I just wanted to ask that too.
Okay, Zülal, I think I should answer that question. As soon as I will process the videos, these videos should be recorded by the Microsoft Teams now. So as soon as I will process them, I will put them on YouTube and send you the links or let you all know of that I have shared them.
I'm participating from Yaşar University, so I don't know if you are sharing them on your website, university website, or you have another platform you use. That's why.
On YouTube, I myself have a YouTube channel. If you search my name on YouTube, you will find me there. So,
oh, okay. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Kübra, now I
Yes.
have seen your
Hi
hand.
again. Do you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And good evenings, everyone. I don't want to ask a question. I want to add a few something. In the 18th century, the woman began to look at marriage as a only option and took a place in the life of man. And she had to obey and train to marry young girls of the house in the novels is the one of the most important thing in that time. And in a short, I think Austen is aware of the pressure of the period on the woman. And while women live under the social pressure and they are pushed into marriage, and which is also kind of pressure, and hopes that they will live a more comfortable life, the woman, I think the woman prefers to marry a wealthy person in the better life more than the pressures, and that's why they try to marry a rich man. In the other words, it's like even among the women who have financial freedom today, as social pressure continues, it's as if there are jobs that women have to do, such as taking care of the children, cooking, cleaning. And because in the society we live in, women are kept behind from the man on many issues. Everyone, yeah, so I think everyone has a dreams, but we see that it changes from the person to person and from time to time. That's all. That's all I want to say. Thank you. And also thank you for your presentation, Atıf Can.
All right. I think we have one last question. Ezgi Brook.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you for this great presentation. The topic is the presentation is very informative, and I would like to contain the discussion of Pamela, since I have read recently. She should both maintain her chastity, and she shouldn't forget the social status, social place in the house, and her responsibility to her parents, since she already writing letters to her parents constantly, and if she leaves the house, others think either she saw something or she did something wrong. and it's hard to lift from the pressure while deciding something freely or acting freely. So that's why they marry rich men, because as my friends also said, that's the only option for women at those times. Thank you.
Okay.
May I add something?
Yes, of course.
The marriages were seen as the only options for women but the feminist philosophers, what the feminist philosophers also emphasized, that women shouldn't primarily focus on the financial interests. For example, I want to draw the comparison between Elizabeth Bennet and Charlotte. For example, Charlotte marries her future husband just because she doesn't want to become a penniless spinster upon the who remains as a burden upon her father's shoulders. But Elizabeth, I believe that she is attracted also by Mr. Darcy's wealth, but she constantly she focuses on her love rather than primarily focusing on his economical status. This is what I'm trying to tell.
Thank you.
All right, Atıfcan, and thank you for the ones who have asked their questions and contributed with their comments. And we are already out of time, so Mehmet Ali Hocam, I think this is the time I leave the floor to you.
Thank you very much. I just want to close the session and close the conference by saying a few words. First of all, thank you very much, Atıfcan Bayram, for your wonderful presentation and contribution to the conference. And also, Başak Almaz, thank you for chairing this session. And thank you very much for being with us once again. And also, Cansu Kırıcı, thank you very much for being with us again. And
thank you for the opportunity.
I'd like to invite my colleagues from the department, Seçil, Baysar, and I think Reyhan and Müjdat are here. Can you join with your, yeah, okay, let's see your faces. Okay, so this is the end of our conference. We have come to the end of the 5th PACES conference, and we are really proud to have done this this year too, despite the pandemic conditions. We have done this online, and we hope to do it again next year, face-to-face, on-site conference, not online, but an on-site conference, we hope. And I want to thank all our participants to be here, and I want to thank them for joining us and for their beautiful presentations. And I just want to ask my friends from the department to say a few words before we close the session.
Can I start first?
Yes, please.
First of all, let me tell you that once again, I have admired you, sir, because till the morning, honestly, I couldn't manage to concentrate on all these speeches because it has been a long day for us, and definitely it has been longer for you. But as I said, I admire your energy, your personality. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For being with us, for being the head of our department. Yes, that's really a privilege for me. I believe that Seçil, Reyhan, Müjdat, and all other our friends feel in that way. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. So then, no more words?
Okay. Hocam, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
First of all, I really thank you, everybody here, participants, listeners, students, but my biggest thank from my bottom heart, it goes to you, Hocam, Mehmet Ali Hocam. It is really admirable to sit the whole day. Yes, all papers, they are wonderful. I appreciate the enthusiasm of students and you as well. But thank you. It is because of you we have such a conference. We really appreciate your being actually, and for the contributors and for the participants, I really thank you. For chairs, for students, thank you very much. It was really nice and very inspiring for all our students. I'm sure next year there will be students more actually. Hope it will be nice. Sorry.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, really.
Thanks a lot. And a few words from Seçil and Müjdat, and we will close the session.
I'm very glad to be a part of such a team, and please accept my heartfelt feelings for all those who participate and contribute in this conference. So I hope to see you in person next year.
Yes.
All with students. Sesim geliyor mu şu anda?
Birden kesildi.
Ha, tamam. Yani inşallah görüşürüz hocam sağlıkla seneye.
İnşallah.
Canlı olarak.
Okay, fine.
Canlı.
Your program, the format of the program has elicited a lot of attention and people admired your design.
I'm glad it was liked by people. I enjoyed preparing it, and but first of all, I would like to thank you, Hocam, for all your time and the devotion you have shown to this organization. I mean, you have spent more than 12 hours today on your computer.
Oh, yes.
You must be tired. I mean, if I feel tired at the moment, I can't really imagine your station. Yeah. And I would like to thank all of the participants for their presentations and all their efforts and time doing their preparations for today. And hope to see you on the 6th PACES conference next year, face to face.
Okay, bye. Kisses to all of you. Thank you. Oh. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
See you, everybody. Good evening.
Good evening.
Kapatamadım.